Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I go live or I upload a new video, all right? Liking this video is the easiest way to support this channel. I also run a Discord, link down below in the description. All right, guys, welcome back to another short news summary. And today on the docket, we had the Federal Reserve, all right? They finally had their meeting. And, unsurprisingly, they kept their rates unchanged. The Federal Reserve kept rates unchanged at 4.25%, 4.5% during its May meeting, citing rising risks of both higher inflation and higher unemployment, which is, kind of a bummer because earlier in the year, we were expecting that the Federal Reserve would change their rates during its May meeting, but it doesn't look like that is the case. This is always, this comes out because of the economic data that we got last week, showing that, we're doing A-okay. We're not doing too bad, all right? Jerome Powell, he's a very pragmatic person. Well, him and the Fed, all right? It's not just him, but, the Fed, they're always going to look at the data, right? And move based on the data. They're not going to have a knee-jerk reaction whenever, they get one bad reading or one bad report, all right? So they're taking a very slow, methodical approach to this. Personally, I am a fan of, slow, methodical, pragmatic approaches, especially when you use data and logic. So, I do like this, but at the same time, I also invest in real estate. So this is kind of a kick in the knees. But, they're waiting for more data to come out, which will give them a better idea if there should be a rate cut or not. All right. We still have tariff uncertainty. There was some recent tariffs that were imposed by the Trump administration, and they came out much higher than what the Fed had projected. This added a bunch of pressure onto forecasting and, basically for the Fed to model what they thought, would have been the tariff situation. So it's just hard for them to move around, so they have to continuously stay nimble. The U.S. economy, though, he did mention that the U.S. economy is doing very well. It's not, heading towards a depression or recession or a full-out economic collapse of any sort. He did mention that, the U.S. economy is doing very well. So that's a good sign. That's good for us as investors, and we can just keep on keeping on. But we do need to take a cautious stance because, that can turn month over month or quarter over quarter. So we just have to remember that risk is still out there, guys. All right. That risk is still there. All right. But Powell did say that the U.S. negotiations with major trade partners, like China, where Scott Bessent and Jonathan Greer are headed to in Switzerland, that whole situation could really turn the markets around. And it could really, quote unquote, change the picture, according to Jerome Powell. So this would be really, really good if some good news comes out from that meeting next week. Next on the news, we have Nvidia shares climbing as the Trump administration prepares to end chip export restrictions. This is the thing we were waiting for, guys, especially for us Nvidia holders or AMD holders, or even Intel holders, I suppose. But this is what we were really, really waiting on. All right. Nvidia stock shot up as the Trump administration announced plans to rescind a Biden-era AI deficient rule, all right, which would have restricted some of the more advanced chips or just chips in general from being exported to China or to other countries, all right? Nvidia, AMD, they're both kind of, well, they've always been in the same ship. They're pretty much blocked out of China. I covered this in yesterday's video, but they're pretty much blocked out of China. They can't ship a lot of their chips to China, their China-specific chips to China because of export controls, right? Because of, this license that they need, which is obviously a problem. And Nvidia and AMD were forecasting huge losses in the upcoming quarters if that didn't change. And not only that, Jensen Huang is on record for saying that by keeping Nvidia, out of the Chinese markets, this is going to cause them to lose market share. This will cause other chip companies domestically located in China to step up to the plate and fill in that gap. Companies like Huawei, which is a big competitor to Nvidia. So this is seen as a good move. Hopefully it materializes. All right, this is supposed to come out or the AI deficient rule was supposed to be implemented May 15th, but it looks like there may be some changes to that, which will obviously be very, very good. All right. So basically, the original rule was created, or the original rule had like tiered exports for different countries that these chip companies can send their processors to, right? So that would have really put a big damper on Nvidia, AMD, companies of the like. It would hurt their revenue sales. All right, but AMD, Nvidia, Intel, everybody, they were pretty much saying that they opposed and they did not like this rule, that they wanted it lifted or wanted it changed. So it's good to see that the administration is changing it or looking to change it soon. So again, this is a huge tailwind, especially for Nvidia holders like myself. I do hold a NVW, which is a weekly pay ETF for Nvidia from Roundhill. So again, this is a really good news. So Palantir was also in the news. They had announced a huge partnership with Elon Musk's XAI and TWG Global to bring artificial intelligence to the financial services sector here in the United States, and probably it'll start impacting other countries' financial services firms as well. So this is really exciting. This is a huge tailwind for Palantir. More and more commercial adoption of Palantir is only going to be a good thing for this company, because it won't be just tied to the Department of Defense. We had that huge Department of Defense scare where they said that they were going to be cutting and slashing budgets here and there, and that caused Palantir shares to basically drop like a rock. But with them also being exposed to commercial, being able to sell their software not just to the government but to other enterprises, other companies, other markets, this is going to be a really good sign. All right, so Elon Musk's AI company, XAI, is partnering with Palantir Technologies and TWG Global for artificial intelligence tools across the financial and insurance sector. Basically, what XAI is going to provide, they're going to provide their Grok and the Colossus supercomputer, which is going to be powering that Palantir software. XAI is going to provide its large language models, LLMs, to provide that real-time data for these financial companies. Again, this is going to be really cool. This is going to be a really good partnership. TWG Global will manage the on-ground implementation of moving these firms, moving these companies to the adoption of Palantir. Again, this is going to be a huge tailwind for any Palantir holders. I hold PLTW, which is a Palantir weekly pay ETF from Roundhill. So this is going to be excellent for the company. Right now, their shares have been getting hammered just because they announced that they had a 10% decline in international commercial sales. But again, I don't think that's a big deal. It's only going to get more and more adopted as more and more use cases come out, right? As more and more companies in the United States start to adopt it, the enterprises outside of the United States are going to also look to adopt, right? Imagine Palantir breaking into the Asian markets. Imagine Palantir breaking into the European markets. This is all just really good news. So really excited. Palantir CEO Alex Karp and TWG Global Chairman Thomas Tull were talking with CNBC. This is a YouTube video. I really recommend people take a look at it. When Alex was questioned, hey, why is the share price falling? Alex's response was really good. He was just saying, hey, if, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he's saying, hey, if you don't like growth, don't invest in our shares. That's it. Like, who cares? All right. So this is, Alex Karp had mentioned that this is a culmination of 20 years of nose to the grindstone, of, just being diligent, being disciplined, working through everything, managing the best talent in the industry at Palantir. So their share price spiking like it has been spiking, and it getting, all this recognition is a culmination of 20 years worth of work. So again, I'm very excited for Palantir. I plan to hold it for as long as I possibly can. All right, let's break into the portfolio updates. So no changes to the positions here, no new buys. All right, we took kind of a dip earlier. Let's see. Yeah, well, I guess not. yeah, we took kind of a dip. All right. As the markets were opening, it's just been trending downwards, right? It seems like we've just been heading south for the summer. Hopefully we get some better news and some more concrete, news about the trade deals that are coming out and trade with China. Hopefully something comes out from China, or, us lowering our tariff stance, us being a little less, aggressive. And, this will allow for better trade negotiations between China and the United States. So we should hear something next week. It should be good news, and we should see better, greener days. All right. But no new changes to any of these positions here. I did get some new distributions that will be coming out. First is XPAY. XPAY is going to be paying 95 cents a share. All right, so I hold a pretty sizable amount, and I'll just show you guys here in a minute, but I hold a sizable amount. But yeah, we'll be getting 95 cents a share. Roundhill also came out with their distribution for XDTE. You guys know that I have about, and you can see it here, I have 1,483 shares worth of XDTE. So I'll be getting 33 cents for every share that I own, which is really, really nice. And then finally, we have Yieldmax. Yieldmax came out with their distribution schedule. All right. The only one I hold is the Yieldmax Semiconductor Portfolio Option Income ETF. CHPY, this is going to be paying 37 cents a share, which is really, really nice. I hold 130 shares there, so I'll be getting some decent income. In total, I should be getting about $1,681 for this week for these three holdings. That is wild. That is insane. Of course, XPAY doesn't pay every single week. It pays, once a month. So this is really boosting those numbers up. All right. But other than that, it is going to be a really, really solid week for dividend income. All right, moving over to M1 Finance, we have the portfolio sitting at a value of $356,000. All right, really, really cool here. Nothing extravagant happening here. All right, no new buys, no new sells, nothing. All right, I'm keeping the portfolio as is. I plan to just let it ride out, let it ride with the waves. REITs, got hammered really badly. When we had Liberation Day, and they've been recovering very nicely ever since. For technology, I have a standard, VGT in there, which is a Vanguard technology ETF. And that one has been steadily rising and falling with, basically the NASDAQ 100, right? But it's been recovering very well. It doesn't track the NASDAQ 100, all right? It tracks its own index. Its closest peer is Fidelity's FTech, ticker FTEC. It's another information technology ETF. But, you can use NASDAQ 100 as kind of just like a barometer of how the tech sector is doing. So this will move up or down a couple of points of, more than what the NASDAQ runs up. So NASDAQ has been recovering very nicely since Liberation Day. So VGT has also been recovering very nicely. BDCs, nothing changes here. Nothing really changes here. I really kind of want to add to these positions in BDCs because I really like the idea of using them as a proxy to private credit. Whether I move all of this to an ETF or just keep them and just kind of dollar cost average, I'm kind of deciding. I'm not sure what I want to do. I do like artificially creating my own yield, all right, without an expense ratio. So that's always a nice thing, right? Crypto ETF, I'm just invested in IBIT, ticker IBIT from iShares. And nothing changed there. It's just a simple crypto Bitcoin ETF. I don't want to hold a wallet. I don't want to do no keys. I don't want any of that, cold storage, hot storage garbage. I'd rather just hold it in the ETF, sell it when I need to, hold it, buy more when I want. I don't want to do transfers. I don't want to do all this other crap. So that'll do it for today's short news summary. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys got some value. And if you made it this far, all right, if you made it this far, let me know down below if you are an Nvidia holder. All right, the keyword is going to be Nvidia. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one. Take care.